Hello, the Bruce's Roos here, and welcome back to Golden Sandsbox, the channel where I aim to push creativity to its limit in the sandbox that is Sea of Thieves. When we last left off on a mission to get every Order of Souls item in a single session, I was heading into a Skeleton Fleet world event solo, with the purpose of clearing the world event so a new one would pop up. As I approached, a single sloop came out of the water and I took a sigh of relief. This event had been up for a couple of hours on the server, so I wasn't sure what wave it was going to be on. The single sloop was a perfect warm-up, because after I sunk that, two more sloops showed up, which also nicely progressed me into the final wave, which featured 2 galleons. My dear friend Flameheart had left me some of his cannonballs when I took down the Burning Blade, and I believed the time to use the Wraith Balls was now or never. I loaded them up and got some okay hits on the galleons. With the Wraith Balls keeping one of the galleons busy, the other one came to play. Being a little sloop, I tried my best to play close quarters with the galleons, causing them to ram into me, each other, and nearby rocks. I bucketed some of my ship's water onto the galleon as well, to fill them up. After some larger hits, I got out of the fleet, reset, and went in for round 2, where I used my Flame Phantom Balls to keep the galleons at bay. While grabbing supplies at the Sea Dog's Tavern, I heard the death knell of one of the galleons. The remaining galleon just took a few more hits and it sunk as well. I had done it. I never in a million years would have thought that I'd be able to solo a skeleton fleet. With a lot of hours watching Fuzzy Bond, experience of my own, Wraith Balls, and true grit, I had made it out onto the other side. And it was actually pretty helpful towards my mission too. I mean, I got a Skeleton Captain Skull, Sapphire, Ruby, and Hateful Bounty Skull. I also got an Ashen Villainous Bounty Skull, and then found an Ashen Foul Bounty Skull on a nearby island just moments later. So my collection was really filling out. Aside from the big ticket items, one section I had not yet made any progress towards yet was the Coral Skulls and Breath of the Seas. In my journey so far, I had been searching for coral bottles at every small island I had passed and picked up 2 so far. The only way to get Breath of the Seas was through traveling to the underwater shrines with coral bottle quests. Unfortunately, the color Breath of the Seas would be random, and I needed all 3 to complete my journey today. So I would be praying a lot to the RNG gods to be on my side. I sailed on over to the Treasury of the Lost Ancients to go underwater for the first time, with a plan to pack up my skulls and my tall tale carrying chests that I had gotten earlier and bring them with me. So I checked the horizons once, twice, 3 times, and then dove under. I proceeded to take the long swim with each full carrying chest and store it all in the mermaid statues below. The blessing here is that even if my ship sunk or something went horribly wrong, my mission progress wouldn't be completely lost because it'd all be safely stored in the mermaid that only I would be able to access. With all safe, I started the treasury. And I honestly love the treasuries. Underwater mini forts with varying bosses, tridents that don't make the fight feel stale, and a really great soundtrack. I mean, what's there to not like? The treasuries are really some of my favorite— What? My game had crashed. With a racing heart, I booted the game back up. Yes, please, I'll rejoin my previous session. And phew, I was back on my boat. The mermaid was still visible. All seemed to be right, so I swam back down to the treasury and went to get ammo in the entrance when something I noticed was horribly wrong. The mermaid statue claimed that I had 0 out of 20 treasures stored inside of it. Where was my loot? What happened to it? So I teleported back up to my boat and checked the mermaid up top, and there was no option to interact with them whatsoever. I got rared. So rared. As if that wasn't enough, I also had company barreling towards me. I took this fight by first making them assume that I wasn't even on my boat, then hammering them. With some good shots on them and catching them off guard, they sent a boarder over to me, who I was able to fend off, getting a 1 ball and the remaining crew member on their ship just a few moments later. This is when I started to make some really silly mistakes in PvP. Instead of keeping pressure on them, I went down to fully repair my ship, giving them the opportunity to come back and full reset. When they sent someone over to me, the player was trying to do some damage, then jumping in the water anytime he got low. For whatever reason, I had jumped in after him at one point. Why did I do that? I know that that's never a good plan, and on top of that, I only had a single bullet when I did it. I missed my shot, and then all was pretty much over. It was just a series of, respawning, getting killed, and I had sunk. I lost literally everything that I'd worked for so far in a matter of 20 minutes, between rare and now the ship sinking. No supplies, no access to my loot, the massive stock of tridents gone. This was rough. It was really not ideal. So I grabbed what supplies I could find at Devil's Ridge and headed back to try to overcome the odds here, but it looked like I wasn't the only one that wanted the Reaper ship submerged in a fresh bath of justice, because there was a Reaper 5 now, fighting them. I took my time getting over there, and by the time I finally did, the Reaper 5 had been victorious and headed off to their lair, leaving me alone at the shrine, where I found The tridents were still there at least, right? Some basic empty carrying chests as well. With the coast clear again, now I would try to get all of my loot back. The mermaid was still there, which led me to believe somewhere deep down in the web of Sea of Thieves coding was my tall tale chests filled with skulls and gems. I just needed to find a way to access it. So I tried dying, both up at the boat and down in the shrine. Still nothing. I was curious what would happen if I took a trident and fed it to the statue. I fed the trident to the mermaid god and prayed, and it showed 5 out of 20. I solved the rare puzzle. Even if I wouldn't be able to get the loot from the mermaid up top, I was still able to get it from down below, and that's all that mattered. So long as I could access my loot, that's all I needed to do. My loot existed, and my time wasn't wasted. I really did not anticipate my visit to this treasury being so eventful and stressful, so I was happy to be wrapping it up. I likely had only about 2 waves of enemies left, so I went back in, ready to just finish it, get my breath of the sea, and move on. But the sirens must have gotten bored because they were nowhere in sight, and I couldn't progress the treasury any further. So I left. There wasn't anything left I could do there, so I left after trying to reset it a few times, and headed back up to my boat, where I was able to successfully get all the loot out of the mermaid up there as well. And then my plan was to head to the fort. And then the fort despawned. And then this happened. Oh, cool. A skeleton fleet. My journey continues next time on Golden Sands Box.